Hello. Alright, so I've updated my server to the new HDRP branch and rolled up a few random map seeds to check it out from a builder's perspective. There are a few things I noticed which, while subject to change, are pretty consistent and significant as of now. First of all, it looks really nice. Definitely looks better and more natural. Now I am cooking my potato here for the content, as you can see, with all graphic options turned on and to the max. Well, except for the annoying ones like lens dirt, etc. Also getting reasonably good FPS in the 80s and 90s here using a GeForce 3060 Ti. TTI, a rare medical condition. But this is an empty server and your mileage may vary. Also interesting to note, Rust is now eating up about 12 gigs of RAM. That's just ridiculous. But anyway, let's get on with it. Let's explore the new Rust coming to you on the 6th of May. Okay, so if you're a solo, duo, something like that, well, solo or duo, go straight to the desert. The rock formations are crazy good, and I mean crazy good. You can basically plop down a quick base here and only have one side to honeycomb. And you can build vertically for cheap and get all the way up there with some great top-down protection. Here also, nice rock, completely flat side, very cost effective to build against. There's not a lot of variety as of now. And there are these pointless Smurf hat rocks, I don't know what this is, but most of what you'll find here is amazing. I mean, here you go again. And again. This specific amazing formation comes up a lot. So, solos, desert. So, checking out the cliffsides next to the ocean, also pleasantly surprised. They mostly go straight up and are great to build against. Building on top is also interesting, since now it's pretty much impossible to scale these, and so raids can't come from this direction. This is a big improvement, I like it a lot. Now, flying around different maps I generated, maybe it's just dumb luck of the draw, but the terrain overall seems a lot more rolling, more hilly, less flat. If this remains the case, it will mean more competition over flat patches of land, which is great for the dynamics of longer wipes, and also will mean more competition early wipe for good spots for clans. Very interesting. If it remains the case, it can make it more challenging to use certain building exploits that rely on optimal terrain to be effective and consistent, especially in larger footprints. On the other hand, there are a lot of build tricks that rely on uneven land to work well, so that's very interesting. And to be fair, I did roll a map or two with a couple of gorgeous semi-even flats, but to me it seems less than before. Also, on the same note, all these shallow lakes around the map used to be very shallow water, and most clans would build in those places, as they offered the best flat land. No more the case. Now the water gets quite deep quite quickly, making them much more difficult to work with. To build here you'll often need high foundations, which generally makes bases weaker. You'll also need to build up twig walkways just to be able to walk around the base instead of swimming. But on the other hand, having a base like this makes it very difficult to raid. The defender can just remove the floors and raiders will have to slowly swim in, not being able to fire back. It kind of brings ocean bases into land. I don't know, it's interesting. And it looks quite natural. I like it. So, this isn't so great. This also. In short, these are interesting for PvP and not much else. If you want anything really useful to build with, this isn't it. If the rock formations in the desert were extremely promising, maybe even overpowered, well, nowhere else on the map are you likely to find much that is good to work with. That's not to say there's nothing, it's just kind of scarce it seems to me. And the formations are definitely not as good. Honestly, a bit of a disappointment. Pre-HDRP, most ice lakes used to have a weird raised bump in the middle that was pointless and annoying. Well, some of them still have it, but it looks to me that quite often these have been flattened. These are much better, and probably the best place in the new maps for large bases, at least in terms of flat ground. I do hope they get rid of these silly bumps completely, they always seem to go against the actual point of having ice lakes to begin with. However, in many cases where the bump remains, it's actually useful and even kind of interesting. Big and flat enough to build something serious around. Quite nice. In summary, the HDRP update is seriously beautiful. Besides for what I covered, I didn't spot many changes. Caves are exactly the same, although some cave entrances look like the ones from the forest now, which is fantastic. The monuments are obviously a night and day difference, but irrelevant to building, and yeah, it just looks gorgeous. I'm honestly amazed they did it without crushing FPS. I like it a lot. I like it that solos have places to build, which are absolutely overpowered for them, but maybe not as convenient for large groups. I like it a lot that there's less perfect ground for huge bases, creating more early wipe competition around good spots. I hope they do more of that. I like the new ice lakes, I really like the flat beachside cliffs. I like all of it. Also, all these little changes I went over, they all seem to me to be very deliberate changes. Changes that they made thinking it will be good for the game, and I completely agree. So this has been my experience after rolling over 10 random maps, and again, it is all subject to change, but regardless, I hope this has been interesting and informative, and most of all, I hope you keep healthy and happy and come back to me soon.